Hello everyone, have you ever seen a half-built house on the side of the road? Cemented walls, no roof, weeds growing through the cracks, and no life inside. What was once a vision, maybe even someone's dream home, now stands forgotten, abandoned, and unfinished. That's exactly what a half-built dream looks like. And the hard truth is, nobody remembers a half-built dream. In a world obsessed with grand ideas, flashy starts, and loud announcements, we forget something essential. Dreams don't matter if they're not finished. Everyone is inspired when someone says, I'm going to start a business, or I'm writing a book, or I'm building something big. There's applause at the beginning, there's excitement at the start. But if that dream never becomes reality, if it never reaches the finish line, it fades into the background. It becomes another forgotten blueprint. And the world, it simply moves on. Because the world doesn't celebrate potential, it celebrates results. We live in a time when starting is easy. With social media, we can announce our goals, talk about our plans, and get instant validation before we've done anything at all. But the truth is, nobody claps for unfinished bridges. Nobody tells stories about those who almost did it. Nobody builds statues for the ones who gave up halfway. What truly separates dreamers from achievers is the commitment to finish, especially when it gets tough, when motivation fades, and when results don't show up right away. Think of the names that echo through history. People like Thomas Edison, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, or Malala Yousafzai. Were they the only ones with dreams? No, but they saw it through to the end. They kept building when it was hard. They kept pushing when others gave up. And that's why they're remembered. Now ask yourself this: how many great ideas have you had that you never finished? How many dreams are still sitting inside your mind, collecting dust? And if you were to leave this world tomorrow, would your legacy be a dream started or a dream completed? This message isn't here to shame you, it's here to wake you up. Because your dream deserves more than a beginning. It deserves a legacy. It deserves to be finished. And it will only be remembered if you refuse to leave it halfway. Let's break this journey down into 4 powerful truths. From the fire of starting to the wall of resistance. From the glory of finishing to the discipline of building until the end. Because in the end, only one thing separates the remembered from the forgotten: completion. Let's begin. Every dream begins with a spark, a moment of clarity, an idea so powerful it makes your heart race. That's the magic of the beginning. It's exciting, it's fresh, it's full of hope. In the early stages, everything feels possible. You picture success. You visualize the end. You imagine the applause, the reward, the transformation. And for a while, that fire is all you need. The beginning of any dream is where adrenaline lives. You feel unstoppable. You talk about your vision with passion. You stay up late writing ideas. You make plans, lists, and timelines. People around you get excited because you're excited. The energy is electric. That's the honeymoon phase of chasing a dream, and it's beautiful. But here's what no one tells you: starting is easy. Staying committed is the real test. We live in a world that romanticizes beginnings. Social media is filled with launch days. I'm starting something new, and big announcements. We've been conditioned to believe that saying you'll do something is the same as actually doing it. But the truth is, everyone loves a dreamer at the start. Everyone cheers when you take the first step. The crowd is loud when the curtain rises. But once the work begins, the hard, unseen, unglamorous work, the crowd gets quiet. And that's where most people stop. They start building the dream, writing the book, launching the brand, pursuing the goal, but as soon as the spark fades, as soon as the work becomes routine and the excitement turns into effort, they pause, they take a break. That break becomes a stop, and the dream sits there, half-built. Why? Because starting is fueled by emotion, but finishing is powered by discipline. In the beginning, you don't need much to stay motivated. You're high on possibility. You're running on vision. But that can't last forever. Eventually, life gets in the way. Challenges show up. The path becomes unclear. You feel tired. Doubts creep in. That's when you discover whether you're truly committed or just addicted to the feeling of beginning. The start is seductive. It tricks you into thinking progress is happening just because you're planning or researching or brainstorming. But progress doesn't live in the start. Progress lives in the repetition, in the doing, in the showing up when it's not fun anymore. You must understand this. A powerful start doesn't guarantee a powerful finish. The world is full of people who had amazing ideas they never followed through on. Great potential that never turned into real impact. Why? Because they never moved past the excitement phase. They waited for motivation to carry them through, forgetting that motivation is temporary, but habits are what carry you forward. It's okay to enjoy the beginning. In fact, you should. Let it inspire you. Let it light your fire. But don't get stuck there. Don't confuse talking about your dream with building it. Don't let your mind trick you into thinking that being excited is enough. You have to go further. You have to push past the point where others stop. Here's a powerful truth. Every finished dream you admire once looked like just an idea. It had a messy middle. It had days of frustration, boredom, self-doubt, and silence. But someone pushed through. Someone decided that starting wasn't the goal. Finishing was. If you've started something, a business, a book, a course, a goal, a mission, that's amazing. That means you have courage. But now is the time to ask yourself, will I keep building? Will I stay when it stops feeling exciting? Will I finish what I started? Because remember, nobody remembers a half-built dream. No one puts a spotlight on almost. The applause comes at the end. The reward comes after the effort. The legacy comes from completion, not intention. So embrace the start, light your fire, dream big, but most of all, prepare to keep going after the fire. That's how dreams get built. That's how they get remembered. Every dream has a beginning, and every beginning is filled with energy, optimism, and passion. But soon after the excitement fades, something shows up that tests everyone who dares to dream. The wall in the middle. This is the place where passion meets resistance. And for many people, this is where dreams begin to die. The wall comes silently. It doesn't always arrive with a loud bang. Sometimes it creeps in as fatigue. Other times it's disguised as self-doubt, procrastination, distraction, or fear. It looks like this. You are making progress. Then suddenly, you slow down. You start missing days. You start making excuses. You feel overwhelmed. The clarity you had in the beginning becomes fog. The enthusiasm becomes exhaustion. This is the most dangerous part of building a dream. The messy middle. Why is this stage so difficult? Because the middle demands more than passion. It demands persistence. Passion got you started, but persistence is what keeps you going. It's easy to stay motivated when results are visible, when everything feels fresh, but the middle is often filled with silence. No one's cheering anymore. Progress seems invisible. Your dream starts to feel like work, and that's when most people quit. You'll tell yourself things like, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe I'm not good enough. I don't feel inspired anymore. It's harder than I thought. But here's the truth. Every dreamer hits this wall. Every builder, every achiever, every champion faces resistance. The only difference between those who finish and those who don't is this. Some break through the wall, others walk away from it. The wall isn't there to stop you. It's there to reveal you, to show you what you're made of, to ask you, how bad do you really want this? It separates those who are interested from those who are committed. Think about any great achievement in history. Every invention, movement, book, or business. Behind each one is a story of someone who kept building after the passion faded. Someone who worked in silence, who doubted themselves but didn't stop, who cried some nights and kept going the next day. That's the part nobody sees. The invisible grind behind visible success. And if you're in the middle right now, if your dream feels stuck, slow, or broken, let me tell you something powerful. You are not failing. You're just in the hard part. This is where most give up, but this is also where greatness is born. The wall in the middle forces you to build something stronger than motivation. It forces you to build discipline. Discipline is showing up when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work even when no one's watching. It's reminding yourself why you started in the first place, and using that as fuel to keep moving. Here's the harsh reality. You don't get remembered for how excited you were at the start. You get remembered for what you finished. You don't earn respect for almost writing the book. You don't change lives with half a message. Nobody will ever know the power of your dream if you stop in the middle. So what do you do when you hit the wall? You push, you crawl, you climb, you keep going. You break your dream down into small, manageable steps. You stop chasing perfection and start chasing progress. You forgive yourself for slowing down, but you refuse to quit. You talk less and work more. You surround yourself with people who believe in finishing, not just starting. And slowly, brick by brick, day by day, you begin to break through. And when you do, something incredible happens. You realize that the wall wasn't the end of your dream. It was the beginning of your transformation. You didn't just build a dream, you built yourself. You became stronger, more focused, more determined, more capable. And that's when momentum comes back. That's when the vision becomes real. That's when your dream starts rising again. This time with real strength behind it. Because the ones who finish are not the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who never stop. So if you're in the middle facing your wall, here's your reminder. Don't stop building now, because the world won't remember the dream you almost finished. They'll remember the one you refused to abandon, even when it hurt. There's something powerful about the word finished. It carries weight, it carries honor, and most importantly, it carries legacy. In a world full of starters, the finishers are rare. Starting is common, quitting is easy, but finishing, that's sacred ground. That's the territory of those who are remembered, not for what they intended, but for what they completed. Let's be real. People don't talk about books that were halfway written. No one celebrates a race that was only half run. We don't memorialize skyscrapers that were abandoned after the second floor. Why? Because completion is what gives meaning to the dream. Until a dream is finished, it is just a possibility. But once it's done, it becomes proof, a message, a legacy. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think finishing is about perfection. It's not. Finishing is about commitment. It's not about making your dream flawless. It's about making your dream real. There's a quote that says, "Done is better than perfect." And it's true. Because perfect doesn't change lives. Perfect doesn't pay bills. Perfect doesn't leave a mark. Finished does. Finished is what gets published. Finished is what gets seen. Finished is what gets remembered. Think about the greatest achievers of our time. Visionaries, leaders, creators, entrepreneurs. What do they all have in common? They followed through. They delivered. They crossed the finish line even when it was uphill, even when no one believed in them, even when everything in them wanted to stop. That's what makes their names last. That's what creates legacy. Because here's the truth. You don't get remembered for what you dreamed about. You get remembered for what you finished. Imagine someone who builds 80% of a bridge. Impressive, right? But if it's not finished, it can't be used. It's not safe. It's not functional. No one will walk across it. No one will remember it. It might have been brilliant in design, but without completion, it's irrelevant. That's the brutal truth about dreams. Almost doesn't count. But here's the good news. You have the power to finish. And that power doesn't come from motivation. It comes from choice. It's not about how you feel. It's about what you've decided. You see, finishing is a decision. It's saying no matter how long it takes, no matter how messy it gets, no matter how many setbacks I face, I'm not stopping until this is done. It's waking up on the days you don't feel like working and doing it anyway. It's sitting with your doubt and still showing up. It's choosing progress over perfection and action over excuses. Because the finish line isn't just the end, it's the beginning of your impact. When you finish, your dream can finally do what it was meant to do. It can inspire, it can serve, it can live. Until then, it's just a vision in your head. Finishing changes everything. And let's not forget the emotional power of finishing. The pride, the fulfillment, the quiet joy of knowing you saw something through. That's a feeling money can't buy. That's the kind of success that builds self-respect. Because you kept your promise to yourself. You told the world, "I will build this." And then you did. That's how you earn the right to be remembered. That's how you prove the dream was real. Because when it's finished, it stands. It speaks. It lives beyond you. So if you're tired, if you've been grinding, if you're in the last chapters of your dream, don't stop now. The finish line is closer than you think. And what's waiting for you on the other side is more powerful than any praise you got at the start. Your dream deserves to be complete. You deserve to feel the power of following through. The world deserves to witness what's possible when someone refuses to quit. Because nobody remembers a half-built dream, but everyone will remember the one who finished it. When you think of those who left their mark on the world, what do they all have in common? It's not just that they started with a bold dream. It's not even that they had passion, talent, or ambition. What sets them apart is that they built until the end. They didn't stop halfway. They didn't settle for good enough. They kept going when the excitement faded. They kept building even when no one was watching. And because of that, they became unforgettable. That's the truth most people miss. You don't become unforgettable by dreaming. You become unforgettable by finishing. And not just finishing for the sake of checking a box, but finishing with intention, with excellence, and with the mindset that your dream matters enough to be fully realized. You build not just for applause. You build because your dream deserves a full life. It deserves to breathe. It deserves to stand. Too many people walk away too soon. They build the foundation. They put up the walls. But when the storm hits, they walk. When the journey becomes long, they take detours that lead nowhere. And slowly they start to convince themselves that maybe it wasn't meant to be. But here's the reality. It was meant to be. Only if you're willing to finish it. Let me tell you something powerful. Unfinished dreams die in silence. They live buried in journals, inside hard drives, in someday folders. And the saddest part is they had potential. They had power. They had purpose. But potential means nothing without persistence. A vision without completion is just another forgotten idea. But when you choose to build until the end, that's when your dream becomes something more than a goal. It becomes a symbol, a message. Proof to the world that you kept your word, that you stayed when others walked, that you finished what you started. Building until the end requires more than talent. It requires grit. It means showing up when you don't feel like it, trusting the process even when the results are slow, sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term impact, refusing to let failure stop you, and instead using it to grow stronger. Building until the end is not always loud. Often it's quiet. It's early mornings, late nights, long hours, and 1,000 invisible decisions no one else will ever see. But those moments, those quiet, consistent actions, are what shape legacy. The world may not celebrate your effort at first. You may work for months, even years, without recognition. But one day, when your dream is complete, the same people who doubted you, who overlooked you, who forgot about you. They'll stop, they'll look, and they'll remember, because you built something they could see, something they could feel, something they could feel, something that lasted. You became unforgettable, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you finished what so many others abandoned. Think about it. The Eiffel Tower isn't remembered because someone had the idea. It's remembered because someone built it. Great books aren't remembered for the first sentence. They're remembered because they were completed and shared. Groundbreaking companies, movements, inventions, performances, they all became memorable because someone saw them through to the final breath. And so you have to ask yourself, will I be someone who starts and stops, or will I be someone who finishes? No matter what, the choice is yours. But know this, completion is where transformation lives. You don't just complete a dream, you complete a version of yourself. You become stronger, more resilient, more focused. You become someone the world remembers not just for dreaming, but for doing. So keep building, brick by brick, word by word, day by day. Even if it's hard, even if it's slow, even if no one sees you yet, because someday they will. And when they do, they won't see the struggle. They'll see the result. They won't see the doubt. They'll see the proof. They won't see the half-built version. They'll see the finished legacy. And they'll remember you. Because you built until the end. Because you became unforgettable. Because you didn't stop when it was easy. You finished when it mattered. So here we are, at the edge of a truth many avoid, but few can deny. Nobody remembers a half-built dream. Not because it lacked beauty. Not because it didn't have potential, but because it was never finished. And in this life we are not remembered for what we intended to do. We are remembered for what we complete. You've seen it now, how the beginning is fueled by passion, how the middle tests your will, and how the finish line is the birthplace of legacy. You've felt the fire, you've hit the wall, and you've learned the power of pushing through until the very end. But what will you do with this truth? Will your dreams live in fragments, in unfinished notebooks, in excuses, in maybe next time? Or will you rise, commit, and bring your vision all the way to the finish line? Let this be your declaration, that you will no longer settle for almost, that you will not leave your dream in pieces, that you will not live a life of unfinished chapters. You are a builder, a finisher, a legacy maker. You don't need more time. You don't need more permission. What you need is to decide. Decide to finish. Decide to keep building. Decide to complete the dream you started. Because when you do, you become something rare. You become unforgettable. Not for how loudly you started, but for how boldly you finished. Build until you finish what you started. Because the world only remembers what's complete, and your dream is worth remembering. That thunk.